Right. Thank you very much for that. It's nice to be back at Your Horse Live again and doing the thing that we do. Thanks for supporting what we do through Your Horse and all the other connections that are involved. I think pretty self-explanatory what we're going to be dealing with. Anybody had a problem like this before? Yes, quite a few. And if you haven't had a problem yourself, the rest of you will have seen those people that have the problem, seen them having a problem. It just seems to be one of the most common things that seems to crop up. You know, we can say they're claustrophobic or whatever, but I find that horses are pre-designed as a species to not to want to go down dead ends, not to want to go under things, and not to want to be closed in. So that kind of sounds like claustrophobia, but for me, I find it's the thought of going in that's worse than being in. That's what motivates the horse to not go in. And the wonderful thing about horses is that they're so tolerant and they're very forgiving and they go along with things. Now, when they're going along with things, my attitude is they're in this little kind of daze. Yeah, whatever. We're going along with things and I'm tolerating. If the horse is tolerating, they can, in an instant, for no reason, nobody's done anything wrong, there hasn't been a bad experience, the horse can become intolerant. So I want to work towards acceptance, that the horse accepts what we're asking it to do. This is not about who's in charge or who's the dominant or whatever. It's about accepting control and accepting that what we ask them, as long as we're clear and fair, is the easy. Now, just because we've got 45 minutes, and what's his name again? Sky. Oh, the Sky. Of course, it's the Sky. And he's 11? 11. And how long have you had him? 4 years. 4 years. And he's pretty much always been a little bit on and off with it. He's had good periods with it? Yes. But more off than good. So you could pretty much say that he's consistently inconsistent. So what's the longest it's taken you to load him? You had to hack back from somewhere. So you couldn't load him. So that was one time when you couldn't load him.
Yeah, it was 15 miles or 20 miles.
Oh, it was only 15 or 20 miles hack. It was fine. We all put a brave face on those moments, don't we? It was only 15 miles hack back from the show. The exercise did it both marvelous. But you just don't need it at the end of the day. You know, the thought of having a great day, whatever it is, there's enough pressure and stress going to a show without that nagging little voice in the back of your head going, he's not going to go in at the end of the day. We're going to be the last to leave the showground. And you will start to feel very isolated with a horse that won't load. And everybody has their advice. It's not that they're wrong or what's right and wrong, because I'm not into that. But what I find is they'll say, it worked on one or two, sort of. Me, it's not about perfect. If we start to think about perfect, we will absolutely send ourselves crackers and our horses. So for me, it's about workable. And for me, if I can get it workable and get clarity in place. Now, here's a secret. Don't tell anybody. If you can teach your horse and get it to understand and accept that its size, speed, and strength is not an advantage over us, and that we can control their direction and their speed really efficiently, that they also accept, that will sort out 80 to 90% of most handling, riding, behavioral issues. It's not a cure-all, doesn't fix every horse, but I find it helps with a lot, a huge amount, and I've had lots of experience with that. So he's 11 years old, and you definitely know for the last 4 years he's been like this. So what we'd like to do is draw a line under it, wipe the slate clean, forget about what has happened in the past, and think, because at 11 years old, it's still a very young horse, and you're going to have a lot of time with him. So what is it you mainly do with him? Dressage. Say again? He doesn't like jumping. Well, he doesn't like loading either, so there's quite a few don't likes there. So, if I can just borrow him for us. In fact, if I just get you to show us, this is the dreaded moment, he's probably going to walk straight on now. You could just go and see how he is when you ask him. I don't normally hope they don't work, or it doesn't go on. And so what we get is this: suddenly, everything else is more interesting. Oh no, he hasn't done anything yet. Suddenly, I've got fingers in my ears going, la 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 la, don't know what you want, not that interested. And so this is what most horses do. The first thing that they will do is passive resistance, which is minimal. Just carry on, I'll just do the commentary, and you just get him loaded for us. But this is typical, but this is as far as you can get. Whew, thank God for that. I thought this was going to be a very short demonstration. Okay. And so now he's got himself what I call in that classic rocking horse stance. Have you ever seen that one before? Yeah. And so what happens, as a stance, their brain switches off. And so it doesn't mean that they're stupid, or they're being thick, or they're being ignorant, or taking the mick, whatever we want to call it. Their brains are shutting off. Dum. The lights are on, nobody's home. Out to lunch, leave a message, I might get back to you. Now, what the horse will say when it takes on this very passive and calm demeanor to say, I'm not doing this, the next thing is if you put 1 ounce of pressure on me, that's when I'll start rearing, bucking, kicking, farting, jumping, and doing all sorts of things that you really don't want me to do you? And so that's when we start thinking, gosh, I don't want to put any more pressure on you. So for me, pressure isn't about force. It's about a demarcation between appropriate and inappropriate. And pressure is to cause the horse to want to start analyzing and thinking, working things out. So, and that's where you find yourself about half an hour-ish. Worse when you get away. So half an hour turns into what when you're away at a show? An hour and a half. Better get moving then. Okay. And so what was the longest period that he was good for, that he kind of just walked on happily? And it's been that long since you can't remember? Okay, and it's been getting progressively worse this summer. Right. And firstly, I'd like to thank you for bringing him as well. You got him here just, it took half an hour?
Yes.
Okay. Half an hour, it's not that long. But if it's every time, all the time, half an hour to leave home, an hour and a half to get back home, there's 2 hours. Time with our horses is very precious. And for it to be wasted and lost, just stood staring at each other in a situation where nothing has changed. So my thing is, and it's not about causing a fight or an argument, but if the horse is not complaining, the horse is not learning. Because it's about getting them to start to find out what is the easy option. And this is before we start doing anything. When you ask a horse to do something about change or learn something new, most horses in their wonderful, lovely, tolerant, innocent mindset go, yeah, I'll give that a go. And then we keep asking, and then after 2 or 3 times they go, actually, now we've repeated it a few times, it's not for me, thanks. I'm out, and I'll use my strength passively. The batteries have gone dead, I'm just going to stand in a brace stance. Then when we start to say, come on, I really need a little something from you now, that's when they go, up yours, the deal's off. This is when I'm going to trip the light fantastic, dance the Carlos Fandango, you name it, I'm going to start showing my colors. Because passive resistance, although it comes across as being quite stuffy, deliberate, and also about dumb insolence. I can remember when I was in the army, and a sergeant major came up to me and he prodded me with his stick and he said, do you know what, Maxwell? There's an idiot at the end of this stick. And I went, not at this end, sir. And I got into a lot of trouble. But the guy stood next to me went into dumb insolence. He wouldn't even speak. He got locked up. He got 7 days in the jail for that one. So there is something about speaking up. And this is where, for me, asking horses to speak now or forever hold your peace is a fair comment. I'd like him to come forward, and what he's going to start to do, he's going to escalate behavior. And it's at this point everybody goes, this is getting worse. He started off doing it nicely, doing what was asked at the time of being asked. Then all of a sudden he said, not for me, thanks. Went all passive and dopey. And now I've just quietly continued asking that same question. He's having a dicky fit now. He's gone all mad on me. And so what we've got to try to do is make the frustration of lack of response the horse's frustration, not ours. That moment of frustration starts to become emotional pressure. Horses are very good at dealing with physical pressure, audible pressure. Emotional pressure is a completely different setup. So, what I want to do is start to work on a transition from backwards to forwards. Because leaving the yard, going from the yard to a hack, leaving the warm-up arena to the jumping or dressage arena, going from the field to the stable, stable to the field, going from the floor to a trailer, floor to a horse box, they're all transitions. This isn't just about transition of walk, trot, and canter, but I want to get a transition, because if the transition is blocked by the horse's ability to switch off, that means they're going to fill that little gap with emotions, instincts, or their imagination, or something else. And that's what blocks the communication. So right now, all I'm asking him to do, nice and quietly, is back up and come forward. To back up, to come forward. And he's doing that really well. And so now he starts to get the feeling of how this is going to start to feel. So now I want to move him sideways. All I want him to do is cross his hind feet over, because this is preparing for escalated behavior. So every time he crosses his hind feet over there, that is a split second of submission. And it's a split second of submission to process, not to me, to process. So it doesn't mean that I have to be the dominant in this relationship. I just have to ask a question, and if he submits to that question, they become submissive. Now, submissive isn't about, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, I'll do as you tell me. For me, submission means the lines of communication are open. And if they stay open, it means we can have a chat about this. We can talk through the pros, the cons, the do's, the don'ts. So we've got a nice, not night, just quietly. See, he's starting to get all huffy and a bit, why are you asking me to go backwards? Good boy. Good man. And also it's to teach them that they've got to earn their praise. If he does what's asked, we'll praise him. I call this the Gordon Ramsay School of Praise. He only praises when it's right. Okay? Rather than, please be a good boy, Sky, and go on the box for me. Come on, we know we can do this together. Because that just goes over Sky's head, not interested. I praise him for being wonderful, grey, 11 years old and standing still. Nothing else. So this is where we've got to be careful about this. I'll give you a polo, or we'll be the best of mates. You'll make my day if you go on this box. All we want to quietly do is work through his can't, shan't, won't. So I'm just going to work him on a circle for a little while. Because what we're doing now at 45 minutes is squeezing what I'd probably spend a couple of hours doing. Because it isn't about how quick or how slowly the horse goes on. It's how often you get them on that's more important. So I'm going to ask him to move his quarters away from me. And all he's going to want to do is speed up and ignore me. And so on this size circle, still, good. Good boy. See how he's licking and chewing now? And that's the first time he's really licked and chewed. So that's him going, I wish this idiot would get lost. Pushing me around too much. I don't like being pushed around. But at least I don't know what he's thinking about. At least he's thinking. Because I'm not going to examine it that far and go, I wonder what he's thinking about. Because that doesn't make any difference. At least I know he's starting to analyze between the pros, the cons, weigh things up. And it's at this point I find horses are at their most intelligent, at their smartest, their brightest. But we have to provoke that moment. Again, leading a horse into a trailer or onto a horse box, it's from the near side. But the thing is, I want to know that I can do this both ways. That I can move him around. So this is showing them if he goes to the right, we could counter it. So I'm going to ask him to stop. bend his neck by making the circle smaller. Consequently, by spinning my rope, his hind feet cross over, and we stop. See how his nose is all beaky? A bit like that. That means he's going, holy crap. Because it's stress. See, when their noses get a bit beaky like that and their mouth gets a bit tight, stress. Only for a moment. Now he's licked and chewed, the shape of his muzzle has changed again. So licking and chewing not only is a thought process, thinking, working things out, it is stress relief. Because we're going to ask him to do something for whatever reason that's in his mind he's not that happy about, and that's stressful. We can't get away from the fact that is what it is, but only at low level. And so being able to push him to the right, stop, push him to the left, stop, go back, stop, forward, stop, back, stop, forward, stop. We've now got control of not total control, because I'd like to examine it further, but this is the basis of getting the horse to accept control of speed and direction.